All right, and we are live. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for this episode. We are now at episode number 7. Tonight we have a very special presentation. It is the first of several podcasts that we're going to do with different hosts and organizers of activities and everything about preparedness and homesteading, mostly in the state of Florida. So tonight we will start with my buddy Sam and his co-host Cindy in the background, and we also have Devora. Devora is in my mag or network, as you can say, and we do a lot of activities up in her area of Hernando County. So tonight, I wanted to touch base with Sam and Cindy and Devora, and Sam's going to start off getting a little bit about his journey and what his organization does and how they operate. So Sam, why don't you take it away?
Well, thank you for having us on. This is very exciting. I'm probably a little nervous, but I'll do what I can to get through it.
It's all good.
Yeah, all right. We have a network that we developed on Telegram, not on Facebook or the other social media platforms. People like me were just getting kicked off at Facebook, basically, and the other social media apps, and I gravitated toward Telegram, and I met a lot of like-minded people on there. And for the first year and a half, we organized protests against the mandates and the vaccines, and we did a lot of promoting of other people's events, like-minded events. We also got behind a lot of grassroots candidates that were good people, and we vetted them, and we went to debates, and we tried a lot of different things to make change, because the general feeling is that we're all going in the wrong direction here. Mm-hmm. So I traveled in circles. I was meeting local officials, and I was involved in a lot of things that I'd never been involved before, because basically I kind of got a gutful. I was not active before COVID. I wasn't doing anything like this. But anyway, we gravitated toward Telegram, and we set up a pretty extensive network that was statewide. We also were involved in some other things nationwide, but we were mostly looking at local issues. However, a lot of the things we were involved in were, I would say, somewhat disappointing. So after we would be finished with these events and meetups and rallies and so what, we would have meetings, and we would always come back to what else can we be doing for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so basically I decided that we needed to start talking about prepping. And basically I retooled the network that we had, and a lot of the people came with me. They agreed that we needed to start finding ways to be self-sufficient and develop sustainability of our own, and it was an interesting journey and transition from one to the other, because a lot of people were still stuck in politics, and were trying to vote their way out of this, with officials that, you'd get behind a bunch of officials, and then they'd go to Tallahassee, and the next event everybody's talking about that we need to get on a bus and go there and remind them why we sent them there. And I thought, well, they don't have amnesia. Yeah. What we're doing is, it began to look more and more insane to me. So I convinced a lot of people to come with us and start prepping and bartering, and I started gaining momentum, and the group started getting larger, and we made a decision to take politics out of it completely, just completely out. And I got to tell you, that was the best decision I think we've made, is to keep that out, take it out and keep it out, because people started coming in droves, and they were all very thankful. Many people have had a gutful of the nonsense and the political circus. And by taking the politics out, I think that really gave us a lot of momentum here. What else? Okay, so we started with a small group. Uh, Now, what we did is we kind of met of all places at a gun range not far from Orlando. And some people from Orlando and people from Jacksonville and some people from the Tampa Bay area. We all got together. We started talking about forming a group that was specifically for prepping. Um, we all had pretty much the same idea. There was some of the people in Orlando that wanted to stay with politics, but that's how this whole thing started. It started out as a group. And then I met all kinds of amazing people were coming in because I was advertising it much like you did. I was even advertising it somewhat on other platforms like Facebook, come here, And so we started gaining some momentum, and some people were coming on board and lots of talent. And I had a point to this. I went off on a rabbit trail.
You're doing fine, Sam.
Yeah, so we were gaining momentum, and I met a gentleman named Marcos, and he does a lot of bartering, and he does grow a lot of food, and he's very much, I would say, an independent thinker. And I met him online, and we started talking about some things in a brief chat, and I realized that we had this similar vision about how we wanted to expand what we were doing and make it more local. And we agreed on almost everything I can think of. What we wanted to do is divide the state up into regions. And I do have a regional map that shows our network here. And we were going to divide it up so people could join not just the state group, but they could join a regional group. And we broke the whole state up into counties and 6 different regions. So, for example, if you're going to come on board to our network, there it is on the slide, you'll see that the Florida Barter Hub network encompasses the 6 regions. We're in the West Central Freedom Barter region. So there's actually a group for that region. And then in the center, you'll see 2 other groups. One is the Florida Prepping Hub, and that's the whole state group. And then the other group is the Freedom Hub Library. And that's where we archive things, because a lot of important things that are posted get lost in a chat and they just disappear.
Yeah.
But we can archive things by topic in the library. So if you're interested in gardening or herbs, or Cindy's got a whole section in the library for info cards. She makes all these great info cards on different recipes and different things. And you can go into this library and see this information and utilize it. So all these things are interconnected on this hub. So you can be involved in more than one group, certainly. Now the main group is the Florida Prepping Hub. And that way we can, if we do a video chat, everybody in the state can meet at that one group and see the live video chat. If I want to post something that interests everybody in the state, they go to that group. That's a group where there's chat all across the state, different counties, different things. But you also, if you go, for example, in the West Central Florida, West Central Freedom Barter group that we're in, you can see it broke down into counties. So you can actually go on there and see who else in this group is in your county, and you can connect on a more local level. Our pillars, I guess you would say, would be that we want to barter, connect, garden, and prep. And we try to stay true to those 4 pillars and try not to deviate off into politics. And I'm going to be honest, I'm very political, so even for myself, I got to shut the pie hole instead of getting political. But it's working. It's working very nicely, and people love it, and they're utilizing it. And So that's how the network is broke down. So if you were to join our Telegram group, I would ask you a couple of questions. I would ask you, or I'd welcome you, and I'd say, what Florida county are you in? And when you tell me the answer, then I know how to properly place you. And then once you're placed there, you can be greeted, and then other people can come beside you and, show a local event where you can meet up with people locally. Now, we do have people driving all across the state to come to our events. And here on the West Central Florida Freedom Barter group, we have, I think, most of the events.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we've had 21 events. It's varied anywhere from simple barter, at a park, tinctures. We make tinctures. We have first aid workshops. In fact, I got notes here. Let me go through these. We've had some exciting workshops. We made sourdough bread a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago,
awesome.
something like that. We have a lot of fun, and it's very inspiring to have this much fun doing what we're doing. We're having a good time. We're meeting great people. We're learning new skills. We're teaching new skills. It's just been a whole huge break from the politics. I didn't like politics to begin with, but I got really immersed in it, and I'm so glad to not be that person anymore. We had a meetup in Orlando, several actually, and there's a gentleman there, Ken. He's the Orlando prepper. He's got his own YouTube channel, and one of his things he likes to do is build these solar generators. And it's simply a battery system where you hook up your solar panels and you can recharge this battery, and you can use it to charge smaller portable devices. We did a cost analysis on it, and we're not saving a lot of money by building it ourselves, but it's great. The education alone is worth every penny, because now I feel very comfortable looking at a system, and I have a basic understanding of how everything works and how it goes together. And let's face it, if shit hits the fan, and if you bought one of these pre-made systems, which are fantastic, we have them.
Yeah.
We have several of them. But if you buy one of those and it goes out on you, what are you going to do? Yeah. So if you've built one yourself, then you know how to troubleshoot it. You know what part you might need. You may be in a situation where cash isn't good anymore, credit's not good anymore, and you're going to have to barter for that part that you need to get your system up and running. And it's just like everything else we prep for. If we understand how it works, then we're ahead of the game. So I personally enjoyed this workshop a lot because I am a computer geek. But we have a lot of really neat workshops. I brought that one up. That was a sourdough there. Okay, you want to talk about the poultry processing?
Oh, sure. Can you put up we don't have pictures in there, do we? Okay, so the poultry processing, we had held that down in North Fort Myers with one of our MAG sister groups or satellite groups, and at Tony's homestead, and I took down there 10 roosters. Would you say about 10 roosters?
Wow.
And we had bartered before. I have an incubator, and my chicks are all over Florida because I incubate a lot, and sometimes I get a lot of roosters. But anyway, Tony is someone I barter with regularly. He's now a good friend, and he had one of my the offspring of some geese that I had bartered with him, where he got my geese. And so we butchered a goose and had it on the grill. He butchered one ahead of time so we could eat it. And we had a really good time. I butchered chickens before, processed them. And Sam got a taste of that for the first time. And he did pretty good. And
it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And one of the guests brought some rattlesnake that she had killed, and it was all skinned and everything. We threw that on the grill, and We just we had a great time, and it was awesome.
Yeah, we even got one of his geese.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We've had a couple of first aid workshops. Vic taught the last few. We did IVs last time. I'm just going over
Yeah,
the
that was
pictures.
a Maggins.
Mhm. We talked about the Orlando Prepper. Let's see. Hmm. Oh, the permablitz. I can't. I have to talk about the permablitz.
Yeah, it's interested in the permablitz.
Okay. One of our most exciting meetups was the permablitz over in Orlando. I think that was maybe the highest turnout we've had because it was people all over the state converging in Orlando. And basically, we went to Vic's house, and she had ordered some things. She was compost and mulch and various things from one of the hub members. And she ordered that, had it delivered, and she had some plants ready. And many people brought plants.
Yeah, I started some for her.
Yeah, some people started some plants in advance for the permablitz, and we all converged. And we've had 4 or 5 experts.
No, it was all professionals.
Yes.
I'm just a talented amateur, but we actually had some professionals in our group that came. It was just wonderful.
That's awesome.
It was a good time, and we all had fun, and we all got to play in the dirt and learn hands-on.
Yes.
We're big on hands-on, in-person meetups. I try very hard to convey to people that this all could go away.
Yeah.
You know, all this technology that we're relying on every day can all be gone. You know, we don't know what the future holds for us, but as preppers, we need to be thinking about these things. We've got a couple ladies in the group that have lights out weekends where they don't have any power, and they have to think about how they're going to do everything. You know, and it's just very cool, the people that we've come across, you know, and connecting people together. But yeah, you have to get offline. You have to get in the real world. We have to have hands-on meetups. That's when you get to really meet people. You get to know them better. You know, the keyboard warrior thing has its place, but there's nothing quite like the real world. And that's what we're all about. I look at this hub that we have as a connection portal. I really want people to connect in person and get things done. And this permablitz was a great example. Everybody met, they all had a good time. We typically eat like kings at these meetups. Everybody brings food and shares recipes, and it's just a good old time. And you know, it's another thing, because we now live in a pre-COVID world of sorts, where there's a lot of people that are isolated, and there's a lot of disconnect between families. And so, you know, what we've created is a new family of sorts. You know, people get together, they hug, they talk, they share. It's just really cool. And it, you know, it keeps me going, it keeps me motivated. Anyway, I'm running out of things. Go ahead and ask me questions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I have so many comments and questions to ask you, but you were doing such a great job sharing all that information. I didn't want to interrupt you. You know, first and foremost, I want to say how impressed I am with the organizational structure that you set up. You know, especially with, you know, we see in all the different feeds on social media, and we see it in my Telegram and my Facebook groups. You know, people post stuff and then get lost because not everyone is on there scrolling every minute of the day, and some quality information gets missed, and sometimes people miss events because they don't see something. So I thought that was really good that People post stuff, and then I don't know what your threshold is, how much time, then you move it over to the archives by topic where people can search. So I thought that was really great. Um, and then I have to say, I'm also impressed how you started, with the politics and everything. Because COVID was a challenging situation for everyone, just in different ways. And some people were into preparedness before COVID and some were not. But everyone in Florida in particular, okay, they thought about preparedness for a hot minute while we were in it. Now, some people just got comfortable and then moved on. But for me, that was a trigger point. I was already looking to connect with people, and I was trying to do it with something that was already pre-built. I wanted to be a part of CERT. And then once COVID hit, I couldn't find what I needed, so I had to build it. And I put all that energy into it. So I can appreciate what you did. And I can also appreciate the evolution going from the political to the preparedness, because the political has a limited shelf life and it has a limited pool of people to choose from, because it is so divisive in these days that it turns people off. They won't even open their eyes to it. So I think it was a great move in what you did, channeling your energy over. And of course, we all are passionate about politics to a certain extent, more than others. But because of divisiveness, maybe where we work, we can't really share what we say, or we can't do it publicly because some groups will want to, shame or cancel, or whatever the case may be. So it's like, why even put the energy into it? Where it's the ROI is not there. And that's not to say that it's not important for us to pay attention or to go out and vote or rally. But look, we all have to admit, we could cast our vote for whatever candidate, and they could tell us everything they want to hear. And okay, we're going to choose this one or that one. And it don't matter how many bus rides you do or rallies you hold. We're really at the whim of that person not being corrupted and holding true. And sometimes we just don't understand or know all the realities of the machine and why things don't get done. So, but instead of not doing anything, it's good. You channel your energy into something positive, and this is definitely something positive. So definitely give you accolades for that. I do some of the similar things that you do, but you are the first person that I've met that does what I do, and even at a level equal or greater than me in your own ways. So bravo to you on that. A lot of times I felt I was alone in the state of Florida trying to get people, engaged in preparedness or homesteading or emergency preparedness.
You're not alone.
Yeah. And to me, I kind of equate some things differently. So for me, I try to emphasize to people emergency preparedness, which I categorize differently than just preparedness. Okay. Because I am a CERT volunteer. I'm also a proponent of sharing information out in the community with people during hurricane season of other organizations. And sometimes it's just one-on-one. I remember last season, which was very devastating to this area, along with some others in the eastern seaboard. But we had so many first responders, whether they were police, fire, military, or just the electrical guys coming from all kinds of different states, and they were staged everywhere. There was a massive staging area near where I live. And there was people that I got connected through other people on Facebook that were making meals for first responders and bringing supplies, socks, toothpaste, all kinds of stuff, and just bring them to the sites, And those guys were like sleeping on the ground, sleeping under their truck. People were bringing all kinds of camping stuff out to them. People that all their stuff got lost in a storm or their house became uninhabitable, they were bringing them things. It makes a lot of difference. And so for me, I try to emphasize a lot of that. And I've shared the story where after Milton, that Thursday morning, I was out bringing all kinds of solar gear that I have because it's a hobby of mine. Because I still had power. I was lucky. And I still had a generator. So I had multiple layers. So it felt good to go and bring that stuff out to people. And I was even scrolling through Facebook with my friends looking to see who was actually out of power because they wouldn't know that I had this stuff or wouldn't think to ask. Mm-hmm. So I try to encourage that kind of behavior with a lot of other people. And, I shared this story many times about up by Devorah's property. A lot of her neighbors, they were impacted by the storm and a lot of flooding, and there was limited access to go in and out of their properties. But Devorah was cutting holes in her fence, and people were parking near her property and taking john boats and canoes to go back to their properties. First responders were dropping supplies at Devorah's to pass out to the neighbors. I mean, so it was just one of many examples where people were coming together for a real FTX, a field training exercise in real life. We live in this prepping space where we're buying gear and we're hoarding supplies. I don't want to say hoarding, but that's how the normies, we're hoarders, but we're stockpiling stuff.
No, the politically correct term is we're collectors.
We're collectors.
We're making sure that we have what we need for the storm so that people don't need to come rescue us.
Yeah.
I was in South Florida when Andrew hit, and I lost the apartment that I was living in, and everyone around me, I was able to leave because I was in an apartment. So I grabbed my stuff and I went back home to my mom's, which was an hour away, but the eye of the storm came down my street. And so we were bringing supplies back to my landlord, who had a dozen horses and 3 children and goats and dogs and no water, because no power on a farm means no water. So we brought a hand pump and installed a hand pump. And so these are the things that you don't think about when you're when you're not in the mindset of what do I need in case I lose my power. And then down in South Miami Redlands Homestead area, they didn't have power for months in some cases. So, and with these storms, we were out of power for 6 days, but because of our mindset, we have a generator and we were able to keep things running so that we were not miserable and keep the refrigerator plugged in and not lose all of our food. So these are the things that you have to think about.
Yeah. So Sam, tell me, Devorah and I have kind of explained how we kind of operate with our network, our mag, what have you, because we do a lot of the, hey, go over this person's property, help process a cow, or I went to another property and learned how to process rabbits, and they've done chickens and stuff like that. Do you guys do anything specifically to emergency preparedness, like we just explained, versus general preparedness and skill building?
You mean like helping other people with like you guys do with the CERT, or?
Yeah. I mean, well, CERT wasn't, we did CERT training, but we haven't actually volunteered for CERT at this point because we did it just before the storms and we kind of got focused on the people in our network. But in the sense of like CERT, or, we were helping each other at our properties, pre, during, and post storm, that's why I categorize emergency preparedness versus just general preparedness where you're learning skills, you're stockpiling different things, long-term storage. So do you guys do any kind of helping each other when it comes to like the storm?
Yes. For instance, my husband was ill, quite ill, and he's always worked beside me on my homestead, which you guys probably know it takes a bit of work.
Yeah.
And because of my mag group, and even people that were in the hub but not specifically in my mag group, I had people coming out donating their time to work and help me get my garden in, do work around the homestead, and it was just incredible.
I don't think we had the infrastructure that you're talking about with your group, but what we did during the hurricane season is we basically, all hands on deck, reached out to all of our members and asked if they were having any trouble in their situations and stuff. And then people could see their post and know what their needs were, and then they could be helped locally by people in the area.
Ah, okay, good. Yeah, and I have to say I was also impressed, Cindy, at your property when we went out to that event. You had such a nice setup, a lot of different things going on, and not in a big piece of land. I'm a big believer in people trying to do a lot with a little space, and you seem to be doing that. And you had some unique things there, the fly larvae, the geese. So that was pretty impressive. And
My goal was when I started this, and this has been my baby for quite a while. My goal was to learn as many skill sets that I could possibly learn and become fairly good at them, even if I couldn't exactly do them well, because I saw this coming from a long ways off. And I figured as long as I know the skill sets, I can pass them on. I can have people will be coming, they can help me do it. And it's kind of working out that way.
yeah,
But
I
I
mean,
was self-taught for most of this, and a lot of practice.
yeah, I think a lot of people that are not in the space kind of they don't, because they have not done it. They don't understand one of the bonuses from doing this stuff with people is the camaraderie. It's the relationship building. It's the friendship. I mean, one of the things that I liked at your event, it was the energy of the people and the vibe. Everyone was chill. Everyone was very helpful. Everyone wanted to help out.
It's a very, very nice group of people.
Yeah.
We thought the same about you guys. We were just very happy about that.
No, thank you. Yeah, just we try to bring a positive energy. That's not to say there aren't some ornery folks in people's networks,
Mhm.
but they generally only come out to certain events. So
There's certain things they're interested in.
Yeah, there's always lots of opinions, but that vibe is really great. I mean, were a lot of the people new that day outside of us?
No.
No,
We-
your Facebook group made up about half the room, and the other half was made up of people we already knew. We get a lot of regulars, but we were so glad that y'all showed up. One of the things I was really trying to do, and it seems like it worked, is I was going to reach out beyond Telegram and try to bring in and connect with other groups. We're all stronger together if we're, connected. We know about your group, you know about ours, you know about other groups, we know about other groups, and then we can blend it all together, and it becomes a much larger network. And having said that, I've referred to our hub as a connection portal, but one of the other things I try to emphasize is decentralization. I encourage everybody within the group to form their own private groups. I don't need to know about them. They can be private. They do what they need to do, and I refer to them as spinoffs. But we have a lot of that. So we have a network, but we also have all kinds of satellite things going on Telegram and other things. But my experience with Facebook was not good, and but I decided to jump back in there. There's an enormous audience that you all have on Facebook, but you also have the same difficulties and challenges that we do. You've got a certain percentage of doers that show up.
Yep.
You've got the other people that come up with excuses, and then you have the ghosts that, they're just the name there and they don't do anything, they don't post, they don't show up. So you kind of have some of the same challenges we have. But there's, like I said, an enormous amount of people that are on Facebook. And, if they get to see this energy that you have and that we have, and then this energy is coming together, that's just more energy. And that's going to inspire more people to step up and show up. And if we're showing that we're having fun and we're learning things and we're working together, that's going to inspire more people.
Yeah. Well, you made a good analogy when, you were talking about, it being distributed. And for me, one of the reasons I wanted to connect with other organizers in the state and stuff is because I believe in cross-pollination, using a little homesteading term there, because it's not an all or nothing thing. It's not a problem, but actually a benefit for people that are in your hub and my networks and other guys' networks to be able to pop into the other ones, because at the very least, they have a better chance of finding the right group locally. Okay. Which, the rule of thumb is, you got to be within 15 minutes of somebody for them really to be able to be available to help you in a crisis emergency right there, and also to develop and maintain a friendship, which is really the catalyst to drive someone to actually be there for other people. So, you got sections all over Florida. For me, my outer bounds are probably Polk County to the east, Citrus to the north, and then maybe Pinellas and Pinellas to the south. It's hard going beyond that. Like for me, it's nothing to drive an hour and 90 minutes to host an event or to attend an event. But there's some people that don't want to go past 15, 20 minutes. I even try to, I was trying to set up a hub. We'll use your vernacular here, out in the Lake Seminole and Orange County area, and I've had people come from those areas to our events in Hernando. So there is quality people throughout the state, and they just don't always have the opportunity to connect with the right fit of quality people to have enough to have a little core hub to grow from,
Exactly.
And not everyone is as patient and tolerant as like you and I to deal with all the shenanigans that is involved from trying to grow and maintain these networks that we do, dealing with the personalities and stuff like that.
It's like herding cats.
Yes, I've used that term many times. Yeah.
Yes. One thing I did want to mention is, and this goes back to before when we were doing rallies and protests, is our network at that time was promoting events all over the state. And so we were connecting with all kinds of, rally groups, protest groups, anybody that was, ready to get out from behind the keyboard and do something about it. We were connecting and promoting each other's events. And I brought that with me when we did this hub here for, promotion. So if I find something going on in Jacksonville, I let everybody in Jacksonville know about it. And we do a lot of that within these hubs. So everybody's kind of up to date on things that are going on locally in their area. And when I'm talking about promoting other people's events, it may not have anything to do with our members, but it's an opportunity to meet like-minded people at their event. And you can go there and meet their people, and you find maybe a new mag group in your area or other like-minded people, or you pick up some new plants that, if they're having an event or a seed swap.
Yep.
So these are the things I'm looking into constantly. What are other people doing in their area, and how can we connect with people locally in our area? And go to their event, they come to our events. It's all about collaboration.
Yeah.
I think there's a big hunger for what we're doing. It's just people are not aware that it's happening all around them.
Yeah. And, and sometimes people got to realize too, I mean, everyone's trying to do life. We all have a bunch of things to do, but at some point, you're going to have to give up something to attend something.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is, and, I've come across some people, we're not going to do anything on Sunday because we got church. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, good, be consistent in church. But, these events are not all the time. It's not like you're missing every Sunday, Mm-hmm. There's going to be other things that come up in your life that you will miss church for. So either the stuff has a value or it doesn't, So you can't give it lip service online and then always just have excuses why you can't do this or that. I mean, was it last year, a bunch of us went up to Elkton, which is up near St. Augustine. And there's an annual thing at the St. Johns County Fairgrounds. It's called the HAP Summit. It's the Homesteading and Preparedness Summit. And last year was the 4th year they did it because it started during 2020, ironically. And this year was the 5th, but I didn't go. But a bunch of us went up there and we went and camped at the fairgrounds from Friday night to Sunday. And we got our little pass and we went to the little classes on Saturday and Sunday. Now, I'm not your average prepper. I'm above average. So it wasn't like I was expecting to learn stuff that I didn't learn. I might get something like, oh, that's interesting. But it was more about hanging out with my friends during an activity that we all enjoy. And let's see if we get something out of it. And then to meet other people. I tried setting up a meetup with people that were going up from other areas and people that lived up there. And a couple from Pasco, ended up going to the event and we got to meet them. And then they've come to a bunch of our events. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's a 3-hour ride each way.
Exactly.
And so that was pretty great. So anytime there's whether it's let's see, I was at a Polk County Preppers event a couple months back and people were talking about Renaissance Festival and stuff like that. And I was mentioning, no matter what the activity is, just go with some of the people. This is how you get to know people. Mm-hmm. So when I first started doing meetups, I was meeting at Portillo's, to break bread. And we'd end up being there for like 3 hours and I'd have to cut it off. It was just so good. But then we used to go hiking a lot. And hiking is my most favorite collaborative activity with people. And the reason being is you can learn so much about a person by going and just walking and hiking with them in the woods.
That's brilliant.
It is. I like it.
I love that.
Hiker.
The breadth and
depth. You got each other's undivided attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people get loose. And, being a person like me, I have to interact with so many people, which can be, I don't want to say dangerous, but it can be challenging because you're meeting strangers. Huh?
It's overwhelming. You have to have the mental capacity to deal with all these different personalities.
Yes. And you got to learn how to read them. Okay. And one of the things I've learned is that to help you read people is just listen. Mm-hmm. You could start a conversation, look for the cues to continue it or shift it, but just listen because people will tell you everything you need to know about them. Okay.
We're laughing because we connect with everything you just said. Seriously.
So, But I didn't know all this stuff before I started.
I
It
didn't
was
know.
all trial by error. And the
Yes.
same with the podcast.
Mhm.
I don't know if I mentioned it before, but how I got the bug for the podcast. I mean, I love listening to them, but a guy that runs the Bonsai Prepping podcast out of St. Cloud, he's in a bunch of the groups, the Facebook groups, and he would see all my posts about events and stuff like that. And then he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, I was thinking about, maybe you want to come on the show. Let's have a conversation." We got on a phone call. It was like 2 hours. We were talking on the phone, just catching the vibe of each other.
Mhm.
And then I drove out to St. Cloud, which is like 2.5 hours from me. Okay. Took a tour of his property. He grilled out some, meat and stuff like that. We broke bread. Then we did the podcast. And we got to the 3-hour mark, and the podcast just stopped recording. And we didn't know why. Well, the software was using
Our video
stopped
chat.
3 hours. And he had no idea because he'd never gone 3 hours before. So, and we recorded 3 hours. So it was 4 hours, and we just had to stop because I had to drive back.
Yeah.
So,
You run into a lot of amazing people on this journey. You really do.
oh, yeah.
People you wouldn't have known had you not started on this path.
Yeah.
And the neat thing about what we've got with this connection portal, we got people talking to each other that live in different counties and all across the state. One thing I didn't mention early on is we took what you're showing here on your slide, and we took it to the other 49 states, what, a year and a half ago?
Yeah, about that.
And that group is actually bigger than ours. Of course, it covers 49 other states. But
Yeah.
we took what worked here, and I said, quite honestly, what I tried to do first is I tried to work with 2 other 50-state groups. And we ran into all kinds of egos and attitudes, and one guy asked me to do something that was just ridiculous, and you got to keep your morals and your standards. And I decided, you know what, we've done this in Florida, I'll just launch a 50-state group, and it's doing well. It's not as good or as solid as what we have in Florida, but we're at least a year and a half ahead of them, I think. And so we took this to the other states. Georgia is working really hard on catching up to what we're doing here in Florida. There's some really good people up there. The gentleman up there is going to have me on kind of a podcast kind of thing here on the 15th, where we're going to talk about the solar generator build. And he's in my group, I'm in his group, and we're kind of collaborating remotely. But that's really what we have to do. We have to start somewhere, and we have to use these keyboards and connect. And then the next step is to get out from behind the keyboard and get in the real world. Otherwise, you're really not in the game.
Yeah.
And like you said, you talked to a gentleman for 3 hours. Now you guys can go hang out, and you realize that he's very much like yourself, and you made that connection, and that's good.
Yeah, and another thing I liked about you doing the whole state and multi-state during Milton, my ex-wife wanted to evacuate, but it was my time with the kids and everything, and I don't live near the water, so I'm not in a flood, situation where surge is going to come up. I just worry about wind sometimes. So I generally don't evacuate, and, when she asked me about it, I was like, well, no, we don't evacuate. But then I said to myself, you know what? This storm is supposed to barrel down on Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already a little nervous about it. So then I'm like, you know what? Don't let my pride or my ego get in the way. They already had rooms set up in Alabama. So I'm like, it's like a little mini vacation. So boom, I had her take the kids, and they drove up with enough time. But then my concern shifted, not from the storm, but then it was like, oh man, they're going to get caught up in the evacuation routes, and they're going to run out of gas or break down.
Mm-hmm.
And but there was a couple of guys in the Viking Preparedness Network, okay, that I had interact with a little bit just online. Never even met these people, okay, but they knew who I was and what I do here.
Mm-hmm.
And one guy lived outside of Gainesville, another one lived outside of Tallahassee, and they both offered, hey, if there's any situation, they break down, they need some gas, let me know. We exchange phone numbers. That gave me some peace.
Yes.
And so so even if you don't ever meet these people in person, develop what you can online. Try to develop some kind of a virtual friendship, and maybe take a road trip one day and go visit. So if you're ever in a situation like that, you got some connections.
Yeah, I think that's something I failed to cover, what you just talked about. By doing what we're doing, we know people in other places, not just all over Florida, but in other states. I've grown close to a friend of mine in Kentucky named Tony. We know some people in the Carolinas. Vic has some property that she can go to in North Georgia. I mean, we've got all these contingency plans because if you're in a bug out situation, you got to have an action plan.
Yeah.
Of course, I always tell people that it needs to be in writing and not on your phone.
Yeah.
You need to have a map, not your GPS and these things.
Yeah.
Think it through. How do you get someplace if anyway, these are thoughts that I try to, install in people. But
I want to touch on that for just I want to touch on that for just a second because my son was in the Coast Guard, and there's a group of Coastie moms that talk online, and so of course we're all over the country, and Coasties are all over the country, and someone will come online and say, my son's in Louisiana and his truck broke down and I don't know what to do. And another mom will say, here's my number. Tell him I'm on my way to give me his exact location. He can stay with me. I'll arrange a tow truck. I've got it covered. And so that kind of networking is so important when you're out there in the wind. You don't know what's going to, you don't know how you're going to resolve something. And to be able to just get online or contact somebody and say, we need help, and somebody just be able to be there is absolutely invaluable.
I love that, Devorah. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think a lot of people
Thanks.
don't realize that community, tribe, mags, they all come in different shapes and sizes, and they have different utilizations depending on what's going on. We are a tribal people. They like to say in the news it's because, of our divisiveness. But, if we learned anything from Milton and Helene, all the communities impacted came together. It did not matter what side of the aisle you were on. Everyone was helping everyone. And
right.
I was very proud to be an American during that time, because for that small period of time, we put all our differences aside and we all helped each other. And it kind of gave me a little extra boost to keep doing what I'm doing to help, generate that in other people. So. But,
yeah, we get to see a lot of activity in North Carolina on their chat group when the flooding and stuff was going on over there, and how they were working together and connecting. It was very inspiring. It was kind of the first test of the 50-state group to see, it in action. That was encouraging. It was nice. Yeah, it gives you a good sense of accomplishment when you can look back and say, I helped get something started here that wasn't here before.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Let's see. Well, let me switch up this slide here, and let's remove this one. I wonder if what happens if I put both here.
There you go.
Yeah, it automatically removes.
One of the things that I learned early on Telegram is if you're running a channel or a group, you want to have some sort of mission statement or some kind of message other than just the title. Because if people are going to join what you're doing, they kind of need to know what it is. And so I've always not only done that on my own groups, but on other groups where I administer or help out in any way, I would tell them that, hey, you need to have a mission statement. You need to be telling people what this is all about. If somebody new joined your group, you welcome them in, you greet them, and you let them know what they've joined. Now, this what you see there on the screen came from Marcos. Marcos is very articulate with his wording and his vision on this. This is a skill that I don't have. So, for me, this is almost like a work of art. But he laid out our vision and our mission and our core values. And we actually incorporated that on business cards that we can hand out if we meet new people. We can hand them the card, and it has a barcode on the back. They can scan it with their phone and get right into the system. And this is something that has worked well for us. Because then people know, if you get outside the bounds of what we're trying to do, we can come back and say, well, if you're a member, this is what we're doing. We don't want to talk about politics all day, and we don't need any kind of diversions or anything. Yeah, that's what that is. I'm really happy with it. We bring this to our meetups, this sign, and set them out at the curb.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with that as well. For me, on the signs that I put up at Devoro's property, I mean, they're just plain white signs, and I got some printouts from my printer up there. I keep saying I'm going to make some nice signs. I'm going to get a banner for the entrance to the property.
The sign that we had when we all showed up for our meetup, it's like a standard yard sign. They're not very expensive. My daughter works at Staples. She gave me an employee discount, but it was very easy to get an image made up. I don't know if this was made in Canva or not, but Aaron made it.
It probably
was.
Yeah.
And he made it up, and we have the file, and we took it in and made copies of it. And it looks very professional. It's very classy. Like I said, Marcos did this, Aaron did it. They worked together on it, made a huge banner that I've got scrolled up back there. That's, I don't know, 3x4 or something like that.
Yeah, it's in the video at the end.
Yeah, it's in the video in the end, or actually the beginning.
On the tailgate of the pickup truck.
But we got hats made up, and I was going to tell you about that. So the hat I wear is yellow, and if you look back at the other map by region, we're in the West region, which is it's kind of hard to see in that image, but our color is yellow.
Okay.
And we had hats made up for the other regions. So Marcos is in the East Central region, and he's got a blue hat.
Oh, that is neat. So,
yeah, we thought about doing shirts, but never really got around to it. But if you're trying to get the word out, you can be a walking billboard for what you're trying to do, and that was one of the things we were looking into. I do have some more hats, if you know. In fact, you both live in my region, so I'm going to bring you the hats.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I love hats.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I'm always wearing a hat, so.
I see that you're wearing a hat. Well, you'll be wearing our hat now.
Yeah.
You'll get Deborah to wear one too, right? But
I'll wear a hat.
You do? All right.
I'll wear a hat, sure.
Okay. We're at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We all want the same things for our families and our lives and stuff. And like I said, if you take the politics out, you cut a lot of the division out. And I mean, we just meet the most amazing bunch of people, and it's very, very cool. It's a lot of fun.
Well, Sam, what's a good way for people to reach out to you that might see this from our audience? Is there like a Telegram handle or a website or something? We'll put it in the description box after, but if you want to say it verbally, that's cool too.
Well, you know what? I can bring it up. If you're on Telegram, sometimes a lot of these groups are hidden in a way that you've got to send a link. So the main link, and I'm going to go pull it up here in a second. It is literally t.me/Florida Barter Hub. That's it. If you type that in, you arrive to a gateway of sorts where we do not have a bot that greets you. I greet you. Marcos or Cindy can greet you. And when you show up there, we'll ask you a simple question. We'll say, what Florida county are you in? And we hope for a correct county. We get all kinds of things that are that are mentioned, and then we know that it's a spammer or someone nefarious coming in. But we'll ask what county you're in, and then we'll plug you into the right groups. That's how we filter people initially, because we get a lot of spam and garbage on Telegram. Yeah. And it works really well. A lot of people wanted to do the bots, to have it automated. And there's just a lot of people like myself that don't want that sort of thing. We don't need that in our lives. We like the personal touch. And so I do take the effort to try to greet everybody that comes in and vet them somewhat and do the best we can with that. But if you go to that t.me/Florida Barter Hub, that's how you get into the Florida group. And if you get in and you've got friends and relatives out of state, you can easily find me in the groups. I'm the little green alligator or white alligator, I guess. And you can find me in the groups, and I can connect you to anything and everything on our network. Now, the network on this screen is for prepping and bartering and connecting and gardening. There's political stuff, there's medical stuff, medical freedom. There's all kinds of things that we are networking with, not just across Florida, but across the states. And so this is like, my focal point in all of this is what you see here on the screen. This is where I spend most of my time. But we bring people in and we hook them up to whatever they're looking for. They're into gardening or whatever.
Very cool. So one thing we can do is, if anyone is interested in connecting with Sam's network, or our network for that matter, drop a comment. Let us know. I'll get you connected. Sam, I'm sure he can look at the comments too. And if you want to get into his Florida Barter Hub or prepping hub, mention that in the comments. Sam can jump on that. If you want to get into ours is WCFL. That's West Central Florida Adventures. Make a comment about that, and we'll get connected with you there. Also, our first collaborative event is going to be on Saturday, June 21st in Missouri K-Town, Florida, which is just outside of Brooksville. It's basically almost the same thing. Bizarre-town, okay. And there's a history behind that, so look up Wikipedia. It's pretty interesting. We will have an event at the Crimson Sky Ranch. It's a great facility. So if you have interest in that, please drop in a comment or send me an email, and we'll get you connected. All right, Sam, you have anything, you or Cindy, you want to close out with?
No, I just really enjoyed meeting you guys at the last workshop. Looking forward to the collaborative workshop. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us on. This has been awesome.
Oh, yeah, it's no problem. It's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate it. Oh, I didn't even say what our event's going to be. So our collaborative event on Saturday, June 21st is going to be a two-part presentation. The first part is how to build your own DIY solar generator. So if you're interested in doing more than listening and asking questions, and you actually want to get hands-on, when you show interest in the event, I will send you a parts list that Sam had put together for 2 different size solar generators. And you can come on site with your parts. You can get all the stuff on Amazon prior to the event and bring it on site. And we'll have the necessary tools and space available and demonstration by Sam or some other subject matter experts to build your first DIY solar generator. We will follow that up with a potluck where everyone brings a dish of some type. And then after our potluck adventure, then we will have a little presentation on medicinal tinctures and some bartering. So
it'll be hands-on for the tinctures. Everyone will be making their own tincture.
Yeah. And we'll tell you what you need for, I think everyone's just going to need a glass, like canning jar, about pint size, with a plastic or a metal top, so like a typical canning lid and a ring will work. But if you need more info, just hit us up in the comments and we'll get you directed to where you can register for the events and get the parts list. It's going to be a really great activity, and it's a great facility to hold these. And don't worry if it's a little rainy out there. We have plenty of covered space, power, great restrooms, all around, just the best facility in Florida to do things. So I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Please like and subscribe. Tell all your friends. And if there's one activity, if you've never been to an activity, this is the activity to come to. Not only because you get to meet people from 2 different networks that are very hands-on, very friendly, and are organized, obviously, you look at this wonderful map. Sam and I are 2 of the probably prominent organizers in the state. Okay. And also, it's just going to be a great activity and a great facility. So no reason not to come. Drive 2 hours if you have to, 3 even. It's worth the ride, and you guys all have a great time. So thank you, Sam and Cindy, for joining us. Devora got dropped off, but I'm going to thank her offline. Everyone have a great week, and we will see you next time.
Thanks.
Take care.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Now, please remember to like and subscribe and share with your friends. We will see you next time.